Hey everybody, Allison here, and in today's video, I am going to talk about Tesla. Now, for those of you who might have seen my tweet over at Allison_trades, then you might have already gotten a preview to this, but Tesla certainly dropped off today. It held the 30-period simple nicely, and into the close, right, we're basically right at the 10-period simple. The 10-period simple is at 183.43 and we closed at 182.45. So technically we're starting to break that level. And I mentioned if we did start to break that level, and I'm looking for it a little bit more strongly, like ideally below the 180 range myself. But if we can't start to break this level, it could be a very similar setup to what we had back here in November, where we sat through quite a bit of consolidation. We built energy into a squeeze. It allowed momentum to reset. And then we started to get a bearish signal on the compound breakout tool. And that really started to show for an overall move lower, whether it was the short-term move down from the 2nd to the 9th, right, about a week, or if you played it down all the way into the 22nd for that lower low that ended up ultimately happening. Right, it looks very similar here. We had momentum reset. We're starting to get the bearish signal to print again on the compound breakout tool. We're building into a low compression squeeze. We still have Bollinger Bands that are narrow, so we want to be mindful of that, as well as this price level around 180 and the support around 183 of the 10-period simple moving average. So watch this one, right? If we do kind of keep breaking, if these Bollinger Bands start to open to the downside, I would look for a retest of this 170-ish range, if not a potential move for a lower low. If instead, though, we continue to hold this, then we might be in chop a bit longer, just like we were here. So there's two different ways you could consider trading this, or at least two ways I'm going to show you as of right now. The first way is to be a bit more mindful of the potential consolidation. Going out about a week, right? If you want to, you could try and do this same week expiration if there's any premium. I'm not sure if there is. But going out and doing something like an unbalanced call butterfly. This is where you have a standard butterfly set up. I'll just show you how it's set up. So standard, in this case, 2.5 width butterfly with 200 for the pin, but then you add an extra contract to the credit spread. So it looks like a 132 on the contract amount. And what this does is it gives you an overall net credit. In this case, it's currently showing 27 cents. With the idea that as long as this remains out of the money like it currently is, this will work off theta decay, it will expire worthless, and you lock in a profit. However, if we do end up holding this level and bouncing back up into resistance here around 200, the idea is we don't break 200, and then it allows for a max profit potential of actually 277, right? Not a bad profit. If, however, it keeps going in the money, then that's where you have to be okay with a risk of 223. So the max loss versus the max profit certainly doesn't look too bad. And as long as it remains out of the money, you definitely get the benefit of the theta decay and that small amount of premium locking in a profit too. Now, like I said, if you want to bring this in closer to expiration or maybe do a combination of that and lower strikes, you certainly can. But I really like the 200 level myself, just because that is where the price has held recently on every test to go back up to it. And it's a big psychological level for Tesla. That was the level that has acted as support for most of last year into this year. And now that we've broken it, you can see it's starting to act as price resistance. So that's one way to play it. And it benefits you a little bit more from a consolidating standpoint. Now, let's talk about if you wanted to do this a bit more directionally, with the idea that the squeeze will start to fire to the downside and bring you lower. Well, another way you could look to trade this, even if you still want to give yourself a little bit of time to maybe sit through some chop, would be to do something like a broken wing butterfly, with the idea we'll get back down towards or below the lows of the year, which is around 166. So maybe doing something like the 175, 170, 167.50 broken wing debit butterfly. This is about a 99-cent cost basis. If we were to go right down into 170, where the lows kind of were here, that price level that we've stalled at before, just in the bottom end of this choppy range, then the max profit potential is $4. Not a bad risk versus reward. If it goes completely in the money and the squeeze fires and this drops to, let's say, 150, then by having it be a broken wing debit butterfly like it is, where the debit spread is wider than the credit spread, it still actually allows for a profit of about 151. Or excuse me, yes, 151, because it settles for 250, which is the difference of the spread width. 5 minus 250 is 250. 250 minus 99 cents is 151. So still not a bad risk versus reward there. Now, on this trade, you do need Tesla to move directionally. So unlike the other trade I mentioned, where it could just remain out of the money and chop and benefit, this one you will need the price to move lower on to allow for that profit potential to occur. So two different ways to consider trading it. And what I would be watching on the chart is whether or not we can start to break this 180 range to play down lower, or if it keeps holding. And if it holds and we bounce back up into support or into, resistance tomorrow, just watch to see how it trades around 197 to 200. If it keeps holding that level overall as resistance and these Bollinger Bands aren't opening up, or, things aren't starting to look bullish, then that might be an even better spot for something like the broken wing butterfly with a pin at 180, or to put on the unbalanced butterfly with a better credit than what we were looking at prior. So that's what I'd watch. If it really breaks above 200, then it cancels out the trade idea. But otherwise, I'd be looking for this to either continue to chop or maybe start to move a little bit lower with the trend itself. Thank you so much for joining me in this video. I hope you guys have a great rest of your trading day. As always, may the trade be with you, my fellow Jedis. And I look forward to talking to y'all next time.